This is why you should always sit in the back seat. Vivian was spending a year in Korea when something terrifying happened. One night she was going out with her two roommates who spoke Korean, and at the end of the night they decided to get a taxi home. Vivian sat in the front and her two roommates sat in the back. This would be her first mistake. The driver spoke really good English and began telling jokes. Vivian found them really funny but soon realized that her roommates weren't laughing. In fact, they had a strange expression on their faces. Vivian said what's wrong, but they wouldn't answer. Suddenly one of her roommates said something to the driver in Korean and he pulled over on the side of the road. Vivian knew something was wrong. They weren't anywhere near their apartment, but her roommates got out of the taxi and started walking away quickly. Vivian paid the driver, then got out to follow them. And that's when she found out the truth. Her roommate said, "Did you hear it? It was coming from the trunk of the taxi. A woman's voice saying, 'Help me, help me.'" She could have never guessed what really happened in her basement. Once there was a girl named Brooklyn who moved into an old house with her parents, but there was one door leading to their basement and no one could open it. This made Brooklyn curious, so one day she looked through the keyhole, but she could have never expected what happened next. She saw something moving in the darkness, then quickly coming towards her. As soon as she jumped back, a screwdriver poked through the keyhole. Brooklyn was terrified. She screamed, "Mom, Dad, there's someone in the basement," but no one believed her. Until a few years later, she finally found out the truth, which was even more terrifying than anything she could have imagined. Her family had moved out of the house already, but Brooklyn returned to the area to visit an old friend. She walked by the house and said, "I used to live there." And her friend said, "Yeah, the screwdriver house." Brooklyn instantly had chills. She never told anyone about what happened. She asked, "Why did you just say that?" And that's when her friend told her the story. Shortly after the house was built, a husband, his wife, and their 4 daughters moved in. The wife passed away from a mysterious illness and the husband went insane. He unalived all 4 of his daughters with a screwdriver, then put them all in the basement. This is why you should never eavesdrop. Once there was a bus driver who listened to 2 boys on his bus talk about something very strange. He couldn't help but listen, but he wouldn't know that this would be a terrifying mistake. It was already late at night and these 2 boys were the only people left on his bus. The bus driver knew these boys as students who attended a nearby school who took this bus every day to get home. As he kept listening, he realized that they were telling each other a story. One of them said, "If you turn around, the ghost will snatch you away." The other replied, "Well, it's easy, just don't turn around." But the thing is, the first boy said, "You can't help it. The ghost will try all sorts of tricks to get you to turn around." The bus driver then realized they already passed by the stop these boys usually get off at, but they were still busy talking. He thought he should at least warn them that they were missing their stop, so he turned around. The bus driver was never seen.
You know what a harlequin is? A harlequin's role is to serve. It's nothing without a master. No one gives 2 shits who we are beyond that. The Joker and I broke up. I wanted a fresh start. But it turns out I wasn't the only Damon Gotham looking for emancipation.
Spectacular news! Miss Quinn, she belongs to me.
Who are you guys?
Remember, your Amazon Alexa is always listening. In 2018, a girl named Alexa came home to her apartment to find her creepy stalker landlord in her kitchen. She screams and threatens to call the cops, and he just smiles and says, "I was just checking in on you," and leaves. Feeling totally sketched out, she spends the next few hours down the hall in her friend's apartment before finally going back to her room to go to bed. That night, she woke up to her Amazon Alexa responding to someone in the room. It said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say I'm watching you?" The girl instantly turns on her lights and looks around, but no one's there. So she unplugs Alexa and is about to go back to sleep when she hears what sounds like a man grunting in her closet. As she's staring at her closet, her Alexa turns back on.
Is a creepy lost episode of Barney that a father swears he caught his kids watching. One day he was looking at the TV guide when he saw that it said a lost episode of Barney was going to air at 7 p.m. He asked his kids if they wanted to watch and they said yes. They all sat down to watch it and the theme song started playing, but something wasn't right about it. It almost sounded like the song was being whispered. The episode started as it usually did, the kids holding the Barney doll that suddenly comes to life. But when Barney started talking, he sounded slightly weird. It sounded like 2 people were talking at once. His normal voice and one that sounded darker and scarier. And suddenly he said,
"Hi kids, today I'm going to talk to you about death.
So one of the kids asked him,
Barney, what's death?
He then chuckled and said,
This is."
with his face suddenly turning angry, his teeth growing long, and then he eats the child. And then he proceeds to chase all the other children around trying to eat them throughout the rest of the episode. And then at the very end of the episode, he sang the I Love You song as if nothing happened, so...